County students. Welcome back. This is 5th grade social studies. So excited that you're here today. My name is Natalie Pratt, and I am a 5th grade teacher at North Shore Elementary School, and I teach social studies and science. So today what we're going to be doing is reviewing the standards that we talked about last week. So at this point, if you did not watch last week's video, you probably want to hop back over there, watch that one first, because that'll make this one make a lot more sense. Since I'm just going to do a really quick rapid recall, last week I went more in depth with the standards, so go ahead and do that if you need to. Otherwise, if you're here and you've already seen it, what we're going to be doing is reviewing the Over Mountain Men and Kings Mountain. We're going to be looking at the lost state of Franklin again, the Southwest Territory, and then, of course, wrapping it up with Tennessee becoming a state. I'm also going to be going over those task pages that were your workbook pages in Gallup-Hay. So let's get started. Okay, so we looked at last week, which was chapter 20 in your textbook, the Over Mountain Men. These were the men that basically had gone over the mountain and basically kind of broken the law because the king had the proclamation of 1763. So they were living over the mountain, and basically we talked about the cause and effect right here that Cornwallis, the British commander, had threatened them with orders of the invasions of their territory. So therefore the effect was that the Tennesseans, they felt threatened. And they needed to act on this and do something so that their land was not taken. So that led us to the march, which would have been in September of 1780. And this said over 1,000 men from Virginia and North Carolina met up with Tennesseans at Sycamore Shoals and headed on to fight the British. There was said that this was a 10-day, 180-mile hike or march, and it would not have been easy. And it said with this, it showed that their determination. So once they got to Kings Mountain, basically the battle began, and this was a really, really neat battle because you had these over mountain men that weren't skilled soldiers that literally got called to arms and marched, and they're not fighting the same way that the British fought. They didn't have uniforms. It just was really, really interesting that the over mountain men were able to defeat the British in this battle. So the fact that they did was pretty monumental, and it showed the determination of these patriots and basically to get that feeling to keep on going through, and we eventually win the American Revolution. So put on here Tennessee history for kids. History Bill is great, and he has done some amazing things. So if you hop on over to that website, you can get even more details about this battle, and he has some more primary sources that you could visit. It's really, really cool. Okay, so that leads us to the state of Franklin, our first attempt at statehood. So basically the area that we're talking about was this area right here. We looked at that last week, and they were originally part of North Carolina after the Revolutionary War ended. So they were part of North Carolina, but they didn't want to be part of North Carolina. So they attempted to form their own state, and they did it. They did a great job at it. They elected a governor, John Sevier, which we love. They wrote a constitution, set up the court system. They had a militia. They really did it all. However, at the end of the day, they just did not get the votes required by Congress to become a state. So legally, Franklin just remained part of North Carolina. Kind of just dissolved once it didn't happen. So it was called the lost state of Franklin because it was a lost state. So if you want to know more about that, again, visit History Bill at Tennessee History for Kids, because he does another wonderful job of going into more detail and providing more primary sources. So visit him. Okay, so in your task packet, you have this area over here, the rapid recall. So let's go ahead and look at that. Number 1 was in the late 1700s. Which state claimed the Tennessee region? North Carolina. Number 2, what was the original name of the state of Franklin? It was actually Franklin, and they changed it to Franklin with hopes that they would get Benjamin Franklin's support. It's pretty interesting little information. 3, the first governor was John Sevier. And number 4, what happened when the leaders of Franklin applied for a statehood? Well, they didn't get the votes from Congress, so they were not able to become a state. Okay, awesome. In this area, why did Franklin fail to become a state? Number 1, Franklin did not receive the number of votes necessary to become a state under the Articles of Confederation. We don't have a constitution yet, so we're still under those articles. And then number 2, an independent Franklin did not succeed because of the disagreements among the settlers over the control of the government. So just another reason why Franklin is not a state. Okay, awesome. Let's move on to the Southwest Territory. So North Carolina ended up giving this land to the government, and this was a good thing because we were able to become a territory, which we were happy about. We, the people that were living here at the time, were happy about because they were hoping that the government now could help them when they went under Indian attacks and give them aid when needed. So the first person that we're going to discuss is William Blount. We love him. He was appointed our governor of this area, and basically he was the one that led us into statehood. So he's a pretty cool guy, to say the least. Hopefully you guys were able to go online and visit his home and do the virtual tour from last week. I know that, like I said, we went on a field trip there, so it's really neat to see the way that the house was organized. So, okay, so the first thing William Blount did in 1791 was order a census of the people, and there just was not enough people in our area to become a state. So we just remained a territory. And then in 1792, he moved the capital to Knoxville. Yay for us. Super neat. And then in 1795, he had another census done, and awesome enough, we had enough people and our population was high enough to actually go forth and apply for statehood. So that's pretty awesome. So what we have right here in your packet is a map skill builder. I think this is a really neat map because it's showing in this time period that we're discussing what our nation looked like. So remember, we're not all the way to the West Coast by any means. We're pretty much still on this East Coast and moving a little slowly, going over. So let's look at this. Number 1, what number identifies the territory south of the River Ohio? That's going to be number 2. And then number 2, in the late 1700s, what state claimed the Tennessee region? That would be North Carolina. Number 3, what's another name for the territory south of the River Ohio? That would be the Southwest Territory. And then 4, is this west or east of North Carolina? It's going to be west. So hopefully you guys got those all correct. And on the bottom here was a data analysis that if you went online, that would have been online. That was not in your packet from last week. Okay. Chapter 22, Tennessee finally gets to become a state. So we have the population. Now we just have to go through all of the steps. And I went over those last week of becoming a state. It was not an easy thing. But William Blount did it right. He called for, right here, I'll read that, a constitutional convention in Knoxville. So that's really, really neat. And 55 delegates met. They drafted a state constitution. They decided they were going to call our state Tennessee. The document was signed on February 6th, and John Sevier was elected our first governor. So John Sevier comes back into our story. Super, super awesome man. And then on June 1st, 1796, Tennessee finally became the 16th state in our union. So we finally did it in 1796. So the final page that was in your packet is discussing our capital, and it is basically going through a timeline of our capital being moved back and forth through areas. But it started in 96 in Knoxville, and then it got moved to Kingston, Nashville, Knoxville, Murfreesboro, and in 1826 it landed in Nashville, which of course is where it is today. So pretty neat. So the last thing in your packet was the chronological order section. And what I think I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go down the numbers. So we know chronological order is the order in which something happens. So the first one, you would put a number 5 right here. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 6. Okay, and again, this rapid recall on the very bottom would have been online and not in your packet. So I did include John Sevier's monument since it's downtown. I kind of thought if you went and did the William Blount, or if you hadn't yet, this would be another tag on you could do sometime. this summer or later, and you could go by and you could visit his monument that's in our downtown, and you can also go by and visit a gravestone. He was actually buried on the lawn of the old Knoxville courthouse right in our downtown on Main Avenue. So it's right in our backyard in Knoxville. You can go downtown and get some William Blount and some John Sevier history and just have a good time. Okay, so that leads us to this week's task. This week's task was a design or it is a design task where you can design a timeline, video, comic strip, anything like that that you'd like. Make a poster if you wanted to of our statehood, starting with the lost state of Franklin and ending with us becoming a state in 1796. You can use the packet, the pages from Gallopade. You can go online and get even more information on our textbook. You can use the internet. You can just endless resources out there to find out even more information and to dive deeper into these standards. So if you want to do that, go for it. There's also on your page a primary source, which is really neat. It's a postage stamp, and you guys can analyze that, and there's some questions right there you can look at. And then down here, you can actually create your own postage stamp, because on this June 1st, it is Tennessee's 224th birthday. So you could create a postage stamp, one to mark and honor that event of it being our birthday. So the last thing I'll add is I created a quizzes and a Kahoot for you all to do. So those are the codes. So feel free to log on. You can download the app or go on the websites. Type in those codes. They are live, and you can play those. And thought it'd be a little fun. I know my own students love a good quizzes, and they love a Kahoot. So you guys have fun doing those. And thank you so much for hopping on here and watching this today. I hope you guys are doing great.